What's going on, Nostalgia Maniacs? I just wanted to take some time to say thank you for tuning in, no matter where you're listening, whether it's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or if you're watching live on YouTube or Twitch. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to take a trip down memory lane each and every week. If you would, please like and share on whatever platform you're on. It really helps keep the nostalgia alive. Now, as always, let's get nostalgic.
'80s glow, the '90s flare, joystick battles and pixel care. Each tale we tell, each laugh we share. It's a gamer's journey beyond compare. Nostalgia Mania, press start and see the games of the past where we long to be. Tune in each week, it's time to rewind. Retro memories for the gamer's mind.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into yet another episode of Nostalgia Mania, episode 21 of Nostalgia Mania. It's crazy. We are here. We're over the hump. We're over 20, but we are here to fill that nostalgic chord that you guys have been thriving for. We are the show that we dive into video games. We dive into movies, toys, the nostalgic memories that made the 80s, 90s, early 2000s unforgettable. But join us as we take flight in the ultimate 3D video game from Nintendo 64. That's right. You see it on the screen there. From asteroid fields to enemy bases, we are reliving the intense dogfights, the iconic barrel rolls, and all the cinematic action that made this game a classic. I am your host, the real Josh Elliott, and with me in crystal clear 4K HD Stitchamania. What's up, man?
Not a lot.
You got yourself a new camera and a new ring light, looks like.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And a nice little TV with StarFox behind you. I like it.
Yep. Absolutely, man.
I guess the TV's been there. We just got something displayed on it this week.
Yep.
I like it. So that's actually the N64 is hooked up, and that's actually the N64 screen. Is that right?
No, not the N64 screen. No, that's just a wallpaper.
Oh, nice.
So,
Well, it looks like it is. So that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool setup.
But that's the actual game and controller, and so
nice.
Yep.
That's phenomenal, man. So yeah, what I guess it took me a little while too. I did the same thing. When Chase and I first started the podcast over at the I-70 Hot Tag, I was using my laptop and I was just using my laptop camera, my laptop microphone. And then one day I decided to buy a Logitech camera and I hooked it up on top of it. And then the next time I decided, you know what, I'm going to buy myself a blue microphone. And then, I mean, you can probably see it here. I've got my own light as well. Yeah. So, I mean, you're almost there, man. You're an official podcaster now.
Oh yeah.
So
I have been for 20 and a half episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. 21, technically 22 weeks. Cause we did have a bonus episode in there. So that kind of, but did you ever think that you would be a co-host of a podcast like this for at least 20 weeks?
No, I really didn't. So.
I read a deal. I'm in a podcast group on Facebook, and I don't know how true it is. You know, whatever's on Facebook's got to be true, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They said that most podcasts, I think it was 50 or 60% of podcasts don't get past episode 3. Wow. And there was a 90 to 95% of podcasts don't get past episode 20. So I meant to say that last week because last week was episode 20. So a lot to start up and then kind of fizzle out. But yeah, here we are. Here we are covering one of your favorite games tonight. StarFox 64. So
yeah, probably. I mean, definitely in the top 10. Maybe
top 10 all time.
Oh yeah, top 10 of all time.
Oh.
Maybe even in the top 5. I don't know, man. That's a list there. So,
man, I better not screw this up. It's better be a good episode.
I think it will be, man. We got some really good content for you guys. Lots of stuff to cover. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one for sure.
Absolutely. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you're here live watching, looks like we got some viewers. We've got one Twitch viewer, one YouTube viewer, a couple Facebook. If you guys are watching, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We are live each and every week on Facebook at Nostalgia Mania. We are live at JSC Studios on Facebook, The Real Josh Elliott on Twitch. You can follow us on all social medias, just Nostalgia Mania. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X. And again, we're going to make Stitch one of these weeks, create a Blue Sky and create a TikTok. But right now I do post clips occasionally. I gotta get those clips out, man. I think that's lacking right now is posting clips of our shows on TikTok, Instagram Reels, all that good stuff. But yeah, we're all over there. If you want to follow us, we greatly appreciate it. And Stitch, you want to promote any of your social medias, my friend?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, all of them. So yeah.
Nice.
Either at Derrick Stich or Stitchamania or Stitcha-effing-mania. So.
All right. So we got a packed full rundown here for you guys tonight for StarFox 64. But before we get into that, I always like to kind of reel it in and look at what we did last week. And we did 2 episodes last week, actually, 2 in a row. We did Cartoon Network and Roller Coaster Tycoon. Both are available on our podcast platform. If you guys are listening, we're on every podcast platform out there. Apple, you can see them right there at the top right of our screen. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Castbox, wherever else. It's dispersed everywhere. So you can find us. We're there. Same logo. It's got the Link to the Past logo on there. So you'll be able to find us pretty easily. But anyway, did you have anything you wanted to kind of call back and chat about either Cartoon Network or Roller Coaster Tycoon that we may not have touched on?
No, man. We pretty much covered everything. I did see on Xbox, the Xbox store, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. Like the complete edition or something is coming out. So I think I saw it on sale. It was like $24.99 or something like that. So yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't really have much to add about the game. I had a couple stories that are real short about roller coasters in general. My wife, that when we were dating, 17 years ago, I took her to Worlds of Fun. We talked about Worlds of Fun a lot last week, and she absolutely hates roller coasters. Scared to death. Does not want to go on them.
Nope.
And then, but being in the dating, scene, and we were dating each other and wanting to impress each other. So she, you know what? I talked her into, I was like, come on, it ain't gonna be that bad. Let's go on the Mamba once. Let's just do it. Off that ride, she was absolutely scared shitless. Tears coming down her face. And I said, I will never make you do that again. I'm sorry. And she has never rode a roller coaster again in 16 years that we've been married.
Yeah.
Or been together. Sorry. Haven't been married 16. We're approaching 12 years of marriage, though, in April.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Long
and then quickly, before we jump into StarFox, another story. We did an episode 2 weeks ago dedicated to our friend that we lost, Kyle Humbird, related to roller coasters, we had a lot of planning to go to Sandusky, Ohio, which I believe, and I can't remember is it Cedar Point?
Yeah.
Is that the name of the,
we
used to way back in high school, like many years ago, almost 20 years actually. We had plans and we would just talk to each other about planning a trip with all of our friends to go to Sandusky, Ohio and go ride that, the tallest roller coaster either in the United States or the world. I can't remember, but it was always Cedar Point. So that's a story I could have shared on the Kyle episode or last week. I forgot because, it is what it is. I get excited about these episodes and I just forget half the things I want to say. But anyway, let's you ready to dive into this, Stitch?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, man. StarFox 64. I showed the graphic earlier.
Yep.
And I'll start by saying this is going to be a flip-flop from last week as far as who has more experience in this game. So I played a lot of Roller Coaster Tycoon. I did not play a lot of StarFox. Actually, if you're watching live, I played more of this StarFox on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And I don't say a lot. I'm talking like very little, to be honest with you. I believe I never owned this game. My uncle Jason had it. I'm pretty sure he did. Or maybe my next door neighbor. I'm not sure who had it, but I did play it over there a few times. And then I did play a couple times on 64. Again, I didn't, as we've mentioned a lot, I did not own a 64. I went from Super to PlayStation, so I played this on other consoles. But Stitch, take it away and kind of tell us what the maybe the origin or the story of StarFox 64 was as you start the game.
So basically, the backstory of StarFox 64 is James McLeod, which is Fox's father, had a team called StarFox, and his team consisted of Pigma Danger and Peppy Hare. And well, they're trying to defeat Andross, and Pigma Danger ends up turning on the StarFox team and gets James McLeod captured and then gets him killed. And so years later, Andross comes back again, and the new StarFox team is formed, which is Fox McLeod, which is James's son, Peppy. There's Falco, and then there's Slippy. So then they just you take the team through the Lylat system and try to defeat Andross and his minions and his army, and try to take back control from him. So
now, was this and again, I'm not as familiar with the StarFox story. I do know a little bit about the gameplay itself, but was this story a continuation of what happened in the Super Nintendo version, or is it a completely different?
Do you know?
I
honestly, I don't know. As a kid, I never got to play the original StarFox game. I do actually have it on Super Nintendo. And I actually played it the other day on the Nintendo Switch. Of course, it was so confusing. I didn't know what was going on because the graphics were so old and outdated. It looked like a blurry white, polygon, hexagon, game. And it was so hard to follow and figure out what am I doing? What am I looking at? And So unfortunately, I don't have any story of the original StarFox.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back to the cover of the Super Nintendo version, I mean, Fox, Fox is standing there. So, because, I mean, I don't think that's James, but, I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So I wish I kind of would have looked and read into the story more, the Super Nintendo version, but unfortunately I didn't. So
yeah, this is yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look that up, see if it's kind of a continuation. But as I said, I played Super more often, and you kind of said the graphics didn't live up, and obviously Super and Nintendo 64 was a huge jump. We saw that when we did our Super Mario Kart episode, where the entire level on Super was just a complete flat world, and then you went to jump to 64, and you actually had structures that were built and mountains and buildings and stuff like that. So you know.
And StarFox was originally like in Japan and Europe and stuff like that. It was actually called Lylat Wars, so it had a different name. A lot of these games that released in the United States have quite a few different names. And there was actually, now we don't have a picture of it, but there was actually a StarFox 2 that they had completed for the Super Nintendo. But it was canceled. Like, the game was completely finished. It was done. But they canceled it because by the time they developed it, made it, PlayStation had came out. And they're basically, so their graphics didn't kind of live up to like PlayStations and these other systems. And you can play StarFox 2. I believe you can play it on the Switch. Yeah, see, there's a picture of it where it says Lylat Wars.
There's Lylat Wars, yeah.
That's you crazy. You can actually play the StarFox 2 on the Super Nintendo Classic or Mini, as it's called. And then I think you can play it on the Switch too. So yeah, graphics are a little better, I guess. The look of it looks better, but it's still, again, it's just kind of hard to follow and understand. And I didn't give it enough time to try and see what it was like.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I didn't grow up with the Super Nintendo version of this game. So
nope, that makes sense. Yeah. So shout out to Alyssa in the chat. Appreciate you tuning in. Again, guys, if you are, I do see we got some viewers on here. If you're watching live, we encourage you to participate, comment your favorite memories of StarFox 64 or any other game in that matter. I mean, we can do side verts. We like to kind of go off track a little bit every once in a while. So just let us know you're watching, and we will highlight you here on the show. Let's before we get into this and get a little bit too much or too deep in, I guess I should say. Let's watch the intro to StarFox 64 because that's a good one.
Andross has declared war. He's invaded the Lylat System and is trying to take over Corneria. Our army alone can't do the job. Hurry, StarFox!
I forgot you can can't you control the 64?
Yeah, so you got to move it around for a second, and then it'll eventually kick on to where you can actually move it around. That's actually cool that video actually saw that. And then when you beat the game, I believe if you take the hardest path on the game, you can actually get a new menu screen. It'll change. And then when you start playing the game Fox will have on glasses like he did his dad. While that video was actually playing, I did look up the Super Nintendo story plot or whatever, and it is basically the same. So story-wise, there wasn't really anything different.
Okay, so it's kind of like this was kind of like a remake with better graphics and a little bit better,
probably to an extent,
engine. Yeah, it makes sense.
So
that makes sense. So StarFox 64, as you kind of already mentioned, it was released first in Japan in April of 1997. It was North America got it in June of 97. In the first 5 days of the United States launch, it sold more than 300,000 copies, which is wild. That's cool. I mean, for a successful, and I don't know how successful, I didn't look up the stats of Super Nintendo, but it had to have had, enough following from Super Nintendo to kind of carry over to have that much success on Nintendo 64. Yeah. So, and that 300,000 surpassed a previously held record by Mario Kart 64 and Super Mario 64.
Yep.
So it sold above 1 million units in the United States by the end of 1997. It's one of 5 Nintendo 64 games to do so. So that's pretty cool and pretty awesome that it did that. And sales were, I guess, considerably less. Now, Japan, was that the Lylat System, the game that we just pulled up? Was that the cover?
Yeah, the Lylat Wars. Yeah,
Lylat Wars. I mean, so considerably less in Japan. 75,000 copies for the first week of sale. Since its release in 1997, the game sold over 4 million copies, making it the best-selling game in the series and the 9th best-selling game on the system. So that's 9th all-time of Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Considering the plethora of games that are on that system, 007, Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64,
Zelda,
Ocarina of Time.
Yep.
So it's a hell of a crew to be with for sure. So what accolades did this game have?
So it's listed as the 45th greatest game of all time by Guinness World Records Gamer Edition in 2009. In 1997, EGM ranked it the 39th best console video game of all time. They also named it Shooter of the Year in 1997 at the Editor's Choice Awards. And in 2009, Official Nintendo Magazine ranked the game 14th in a list of the greatest Nintendo games. And then in 2012, G4 ranked StarFox as the 74th greatest game of all time on their list of the top 100 greatest video games of all time. So,
G4.
Yeah, so that menu there. Obviously you got the main game. Training actually helped quite a bit, and I actually used to play it to help get better at the game because, like I said, I played this game all of the time. So spent lots of hours. Versus mode is you could do up to 4 players, and you basically you're just flying around in kind of wide open levels. I actually had a screenshot of the multiplayer window, but I forgot to upload it. And then ranking, you can just kind of see like top 10 or top 15 of where you rank as far as points wise, because at the end of each level, it keeps track of how many points you had, and it adds up your total of all your points from each level that you get, and then it ranks you based on how well you did and stuff like that. So,
right.
Yeah. And then data was just, if you only one option, you cleared it or no. And it was just the ranking. That's all that was. And probably the medals, because if you killed enough enemies and your whole team survived, you got medals for the game. So that's probably all what that erases when you clear the data, because it didn't support a memory card feature, even though it had it. So or even though it had memory cards for 64, which I still have mine, quite a few of them. So they have lots of created wrestlers on them. So
awesome. On was it World Tour or Revenge?
No.
Do they have created wrestler on that game? I know you could edit wrestlers, but
you can edit, but you couldn't create. No,
that's right.
WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy.
No Mercy.
Yeah. No Mercy. Yeah.
So, as far as memories, I kind of already told a little bit. I didn't play much of this game. I do remember kind of the beginning stage, the first level the most. I probably played that the most. Just kind of taking off and seeing the 3D versus what I used to play in the Super Nintendo version. Anything on the PlayStation and the Nintendo 64 was graphically better, obviously, than Super, even though I love Super Nintendo. But yeah, man, it was just kind of mind blowing there back in 1997 in the new system, and I probably played it sometime in 97. And so like I said, I played a lot of that first level. I didn't get too terribly far into this game, but it was super fun and loved it. It had a good like cinematic. I like those cinematic games. We talked about it in Metal Gear, and I like the setup to this game because it has kind of that story feel where you got to play the characters talking to each other. Say, hey, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. They come together at the very beginning, and we'll see it here in a second when I play the first gameplay clip. But love the cinematic feel of games, and this one had a lot to it. So
absolutely.
Go into yours. You're gonna have a better story than I am, but tell us your memories and things of owning StarFox 64.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like specific memories, I don't actually have any. I've talked about this before on previous episodes, but how I got introduced to the 64 for the most part, other than just going to Walmart and playing it, playing the demo of Super Mario World. My dad had it, and StarFox, I believe, was one of the games that he had. Now, how he picked and choose which games that he wanted for the N64, I don't really know. He just had a few here and there.
Well, he had to pick and choose and hide it from your mom.
Well, no, that was PlayStation.
Okay, sorry.
No, because they were actually divorced when I went over to his house and found out he had an N64. But yeah, he just had a collection of games. And I just, after he gave me,
sorry, we got something in the chat. Star Fox 64 was not only the best video game ever in Nintendo, but it was rated #1 in Nintendo Magazine in the late 90s. Yeah, we just talked about all the accolades that it had, and it is this is Aaron Wallace, by the way, for those of you who don't know. Appreciate you tuning in, sir.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Anyway, go ahead.
But my dad had the 64, and he had the collection of games. I don't remember all the games that he had. But I'm pretty sure Star Fox was one of them. And, and I still have my original, which as you can see is behind me. That's my original Nintendo 64 that I actually got from my dad. And, it still works. And what's funny too is I was having trouble a couple weeks ago trying to get it to work. And it just wouldn't work for whatever reason. And I found somebody on Facebook Marketplace was actually selling Nintendo 64s. And I found out that he ends up cleaning them, taking them apart, doing all that. So then, yeah. So I got it to work. And the funny thing is I met him, took it over to his house, and it just worked on the first try, which made me mad, but whatever. Then he, well, I know I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but yeah, I actually ended up taking apart one of my controllers, which is the Atomic Purple, and cleaning it, which definitely needed to be cleaned. I haven't cleaned the other part of it just because there's a piece of it I need to get out. But then I got all the buttons in a bag that I cleaned. So, yeah, I'm kind of learning, stuff, and it made me really want to dive into doing that kind of stuff. But
so when you cleaned it, is there like any specific like cleaning agent you have to use, or is it just soap and water?
Well, I didn't clean the board, that's what it's called, the board, the electronics part. I just use soap and water on it. But anyway, so yeah, I still have my original 64 that I got. It does still work. It's just if you don't wiggle the game the right way or put it in the right way, it's not going to turn on, which kind of bugs the crap out of me. Yeah. But it's something that's plagued the N64, because if you just slightly move the cartridge, then it doesn't work. But yeah, StarFox was one of those games my dad had, and I'd go over there to his house. I'd play it when I'd come over. And then I think a long time ago, he ended up giving me his Super Nintendo that he had. And so he didn't play the N64 at all. Because I think I just literally, like I said, I think I just showed up to his house one day and he just had it. And so I played it. And I fell in love with it, obviously. And so he wanted the Super Nintendo back. So if I remember right, I think I just gave the Super Nintendo back to him, and then he gave me the N64. So that was a win-win for me, because that was a newer system. And yeah. And here we are, 100 years later, and it's still there. It's still kicking. It still works. I still play it, because doing this podcast has really made me really want to go back and play these games. Especially
you and me both.
Especially, like the field research part of it, because, you can sit there and look up info. You can look up videos, but playing the actual game is way better. And it's far superior. But yeah, I mean, I put a lot of time. I put a lot of hours into playing StarFox. Unfortunately, I mainly just played it, just by myself, because the multiplayer wasn't really as much fun, because it wasn't driven. It wasn't, it wasn't marketed as a multiplayer game. It was just a single player, story driven game. And, I fell in love with it, and it's still, to this day, it's still, a great game, I think. And, and the last StarFox game to come out was on the Wii U. It was called StarFox Zero. And the cool thing about that is they actually brought back the original cast to voice the characters, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I actually just acquired a Wii U from my cousin. She was selling one, so I jumped all over it. And it's actually the sister of Graffiti Games who tuned in last week for our episode.
Yeah.
It's actually it's his sister. But yeah, she sold it to me. And so I actually ordered me a brand new copy I found on eBay for just a little over $30, a brand new copy of StarFox Zero. So I saw a video of it, and it looks pretty awesome. And the graphics look great on it. So I'm hoping that I'm going to have fun with playing the game, a newer StarFox game. Because I did have one on the GameCube, but I honestly don't know what happened to it. I could have swore I still had it, but somehow it's not here, and I don't know what happened. But it was different. It was a different kind of StarFox game, because you could actually get out of your vehicle and run and gun and shoot, and so it was a little different.
And that's wild. That's, I don't think I ever played that one or even seen a gameplay clip at all.
Yeah. And they actually, for the 3DS, the little handheld Nintendo 3DS that they came out with, they actually remastered StarFox 64. like they updated it, made it have cool graphics. Of course, I've never played it because I didn't own any of the DS, handheld video game systems.
Right.
So, but yeah, StarFox, I put a lot of time, spent lots of hours playing it. Played it so much that, I think I got a medal on every single level. Because, it's not something that you can just, do in, a few hours. No, it takes a lot of time because you got to be able to shoot, you got to shoot enough enemies to be able to get a medal. And yeah, so you got to learn where they're all at, how to shoot them,
Yeah.
So yeah,
it becomes almost like I don't know if it was as bad as like a Pac-Man pattern.
Kind of, yeah.
But you kind of got to learn where they're going to pop up at,
Nope,
and
absolutely.
you got to be in a certain spot to shoot. Yeah. So that's pretty cool, man. Like I like how we do this memory section because a lot of our gaming memories and histories always start back with thinking back to our childhood and thinking back of like family. A lot of yours started with your dad, and you're starting. Yep. Mine started a lot with. I mean, my dad played a little bit of when I was super young, and then he kind of fell a little bit out of it. Also, Jason, who's on the podcast every once in a while. And then my best friend growing up, I played a lot of video games with him as well. So it's just cool to, reminisce and go back to that time where it was much simpler. So let's take a look before we jump into characters. I think that's the next section. Let's look at this first gameplay clip, man. See what StarFox 64 is all about.
Slippy here. I'm okay.
I see him up ahead. Let's rock and roll. Get back here. Something's wrong with the G diffuser. Use the boost to take. I guess I should be thankful. I'll cover you, Fox. I won't let you get away from me.
Yeah.
What a cool game, man.
Yeah.
What
very
a cool
cool,
game.
man. Yeah, that opening is Corneria. That's the first level you start. Yeah, Slippy can be a little annoying at times.
Yeah. That was kind of the common theme of this of some of these gameplay clips that I was watching, and
yeah, and then the second part of the clip, I believe, was the last hurrah, and you basically defeating like a satellite core, I think.
Yep.
So,
yep. So, let's got some more. So, talk to me about some of these screenshots before we jump into the characters.
So that's basically the Lylat system. That is what Andross is trying to control. So the first planet on the far left, the triangle above, that's Corneria. So that's how you're, obviously your first level. So that's how you're first introduced to the game. And then the second one is the asteroid field.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Stich.
And then you got the Facina. That's the third on the middle of the picture. And then you got Sector X, which is after that. And then you got Titania, which is like Saturn.
Yeah.
And then you got, this clip is so basically a lot of these levels you could complete them two ways. You either had to do specific things in order to either complete the game or because at the end it would say either mission complete or mission accomplished. And one of the things you had to do in Corneria to get mission accomplished, to go the alternate path, you had to fly under all these archways. And when you start doing it, after you do, I think like one or two, I think it's like two or three, Falco there, he'll say pretty smooth flying, Fox. And, he'll say it in a sarcastic tone. The dynamic between Fox and Falco on this game, it kind of reminds me a lot of the movie Top Gun between Maverick and Iceman. I really feel like that is probably the perfect comparison to those two in the way they are, because Falco thinks he is the best, and then Fox is he's just the humble leader, even though that's kind of a little different from Maverick. Maverick's more cocky per se, but you don't get a cocky vibe from Fox at all.
Fox, yeah.
But yeah.
So I wanted you to kind of start off and kind of go through the characters. I know, we all kind of are familiar with Fox. He's kind of the leader of the group.
Yep.
You said you mentioned his father, James, with the glasses earlier, and just kind of go through. I mean, I'll throw up a screenshot here. Kind of,
So yeah, Fox.
Go ahead.
Fox is, he's your main guy. And then you have, Peppy, which is the rabbit. So he's part of the original StarFox team. And he was able to escape when Pigma betrayed them and led to James getting captured, Fox's dad. So he goes back and basically tells Fox all what happened. And then to the far left, you got Falco. He's a Falcon. He's an excellent fighter, but he's also, quite cocky and self-assured. He looks for alternate routes and shortcuts. Slippy Toad, he's a frog, and they went pretty original on his name there. So he's basically the mechanical expert of the team. He's cheerful, energetic. He does get himself in trouble quite a bit. He does provide valuable information about certain enemies and bosses throughout the game. But then, so at the beginning, before you get into the level, it starts off with General Pepper. He's basically got he's basically kind of given the briefing to the team. And he's a bloodhound, and he's the leader of the Cornerian army. And then he's stationed in the Great Fox, which is basically the team's, base. And then there are some other playable not playable characters, but characters throughout the game, like Bill Gray, which is a friend of Fox. And then you have Cat Monroe, which is Falco's friend and former gang member. And you almost think that Cat kind of loves Falco. And Cat is actually a cat. So Cat trying to, get with a bird is kind of interesting choice. So
there's other outside of those four, Fox, Peppy, Falco, and Slippy. There's more characters you can actually.
Well, the Bill, Gray, and Cat, they basically show up during certain levels, and they kind of help you along the way.
Gotcha.
So that's basically their part of the thing, and then on the other side, so like the bad guys, you have the Star Wolf team, which is Wolf O'Donnell. He's literally a wolf, and then you have Leon Pawlowski. He's a chameleon, and then you have Andrew Oikani. Oikani, yeah, he's Andross's nephew. So, and then you have Pigma Danger. So, yeah, those four members are Team Star Wolf. So they're the bad guys. They show up in a couple different levels. And if you take the hard path through the game and you get all the way to the end before you fight Andross on Venom, you face Team Starwolf, and they are a pain in the butt. And if you don't have your full team, because let's say you're playing in the level before you get to them, and their life goes out on like Falco, Slippy, or Peppy, you'll be without one of them guys for that fight with them. And that just means you have one extra ship that's chasing you and chasing the other your other teammates, which can make it very difficult because you constantly got to, dodge them and go behind them and stuff like that. So it definitely it wears on you. I was playing it actually last night or the night before, and I was getting mad. But I was able to actually do it.
Yeah.
I was down a man, so it was it was hard, but I did it, especially being all these years without playing it.
Yeah, for sure. And let's jump. I don't know. Let's see. I got 2 more gameplay clips. Let's run through a couple of these vehicles.
Yep.
This is the R-Wing.
Yep, the R-Wing.
And kind of that's the primary vehicle. That's the one that Fox uses, correct?
Well, the whole team, yeah. The whole team uses it, yeah.
The whole team uses it.
Yeah,
so,
they use an R-Wing, yeah.
Yeah. So
it kind of looks a little funny in the picture. I mean, that's like the 64 version of it, but the front of it is actually longer. It just, for some reason, it looks
kind of shrunk.
Looks just really weird, yeah.
Yeah. So the R-Wing is equipped with the revolutionary G diffuser system, an anti-gravity device which basically allows the pilot to accelerate and decelerate at the same time or instantly, and perform a wide variety of high-performance combat maneuvers. And by executing
yeah, I don't know how to say that word. But we can talk about that little part later.
Yeah.
Part of the episode.
So by executing a barrel roll, basically, the R-Wing can also generate an electromagnetic shield, which will deflect most weapons, most notably laser beams. So that's the R-Wing. Stitch, let's talk about the Blue Marine.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the Blue Marine, you only use it in one level, which is Aquas. Basically, you just go underwater and you fight a underwater bioweapon. It's just like a big clam looking. It's kind of like a clam and a cyclops mixed together. And so it's a medium-sized, experimental, and unpredictable assault submersible for the missions in Aquas. Originally, it was designed for recreational use, but after Fox told Slippy that they were going to do a mission on Aquas, they needed a submersible. Slippy and Bellatino modified the submarine as an assault and attack experimental and unpredictable one for battle and war instead of the original idea of it being recreational entirely. It has a maximum depth of 2,000 space meters below the surface level of water, making it a powerful, destructive, and unpredictable assault submersible. Like I said, I mean, you can, during the level that you're playing, you can shoot torpedoes, or you can shoot the lasers on it. The rockets actually, or the torpedoes, they kind of light the level up because you're underwater and it's very dark. So, and they literally tell you that. I think Peppy or Slippy tells you to shoot the torpedoes because it lights up the level. So yeah.
Yep. Hunter Dillon in the chat. Appreciate you tuning in, sir.
Welcome.
Stitch, Landmaster.
Oh,
What's up with this bad boy?
That is their tank, and it's in 2 levels during the game, and it's way better than the Blue Marine is. So, and all three of these vehicles were actually designed by Slippy, because since he's the mechanical guy, he's the mechanic of the team. So, so it was made as an armored exportation vehicle. But they needed something for land-based combat. So yeah. And it was converted by adding stronger battle armor and weapon system. The Landmaster can't actually hover. It's got two rockets were underneath it where it can hover, and it can also roll side to side, to help it avoid mines and enemy attacks. But yeah, man, this thing it's pretty awesome. And the levels that it has you play in are pretty fun. But like I said, you only get to use it in 2 levels, and then the Blue Marine is only in 1. So,
basically you're using the R-Wing.
Yeah, the R-Wing
90% of the time.
Yeah, and then in some of the other StarFox games, I think the R-Wing actually can transform into like a walking robot or something weird. Like I said, other than like playing one of them on the GameCube, I haven't played any of the other StarFox game. I do want to try them out just so I can get the full, feel, because Star Fox Assault and Star Fox Adventures were 2 StarFox games that came out for the GameCube. And I think I either had Assault or Adventures. I don't remember which one I had, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
nice. So that's pretty much the vehicles that you're available to use. Let's go to gameplay clip number 2 and take a look at more gameplay.
Hey, what's the big idea?
So all I've got to say is that level right there we just watched looked absolutely insane. You're getting so close to that. I don't even know what that was that you're chasing, but he's pulling out like columns, and you got like a half a second to react to it before you run into it, and that level probably caused you and many other players a lot of frustration. I feel like.
No, it was actually kind of fairly easy, to be honest with you. It's just, and when you sit there and constantly play the game over and over, you start to memorize where, all that stuff is, when it comes out.
Yeah.
So no, that is probably very low on the frustrating part of it. I mean, it looked like it would be, but yeah.
Yeah, it looked harder than it was, I guess.
So, yeah.
So we got some section here, kind of talking about the levels and bosses. Did you kind of want to kind of quickly run through some of these levels? And I know there's different paths you can take. You mentioned the hard path earlier, so kind of talk us through some paths you can take in the levels.
Yeah, so depending on if you completed the game or completed the level or accomplished the level or mission, it would take you on a certain path. The small path was the easiest path, and then the medium path was, a little harder, and then of course you got the hard path. So, and that was your harder levels. But yeah. And something I've realized is especially playing this game on like the Switch as opposed to the N64 is I'm not very good at playing it on like the Switch. It's just, the game is quicker, the reaction time to, your joystick movement is going to be a whole lot better. It just doesn't feel like it's the same game almost.
Right.
Like, I know it. It still feels and looks like it's the same game, but it's just more sped up. And so, your reaction times are going to be a little different, especially, if it's been so long since you've played the game anyway. But yeah, it's just, I have a lot harder time playing it on like the Switch just because it just feels more sped up and
right.
So, but yeah.
So you said to take these paths, like how do you start on that path?
So basically it's how you finish the level. Yeah. So it's how you finish the level. So like I told you, you got to fly under those archways on Corneria on the first level. And that's how you get to go to the alternate path. You follow Falco and he goes through a waterfall. And it takes you. Now, when you take these different paths, they also have 2 different bad guys as well. Not every single one of them, but yeah. So, but yeah. So like Corneria, it has. Some of these names I'm not really going to pronounce very well. So Corneria has Granga and the attack carrier. Attack carrier is the accomplished path. Then the asteroid field it's a Meteo Crusher. Level 3, Facina, you go against the Star Wolf team, so that's your first time facing them. And then Sector X, you play the Spyborg. And then Titania is Gora's, which I think might have been that guy that's running. And then Bolsey, you face off against the satellite core, but then, or actually, I think I'm getting the levels mixed up. It's not so, but level 6 is Team Star Wolf. That's you can face them again. And then during the medium path is Katina. You face the mothership, which is just a ship, and it's got a bunch of bad guys coming out of it. And then the Solar, which is like a lava planet. You face Vulcane. And then Macbeth, you face that's the Landmaster, the tank. You face a guy on it that's attached to a train. He's flying around, but he's like on a leash on a train. And then on the hard path, Sector Y, and it's in the sky. 2 robot Shoguns and then 1 piloted Shogun. So these basically like robots. Think of like a robot like the Rock and Sock'em robots. They kind of look like those guys. But they got guns and shields and and then there's Aquas, which is the underwater level, which is the underwater bioweapon.
I really wish I would have gotten a clip of that because I saw the someone talking about the underwater level and I said, man, I have not seen the underwater. How was that to play? Like, how was the underwater to play?
There's a lot of, it's a lot of going on. There's a lot going on in the level. And like I said, to be able to really see, you've got to fire your torpedoes. But like I said, you can fire your torpedoes and your lasers at the same time. Of course, the lasers aren't going to work because you're double tapping, A and B. Right. But yeah. And then Zonus is the Sora Marine. I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah, it's a water planet basically. And then Sector Z, basically the Great Fox, which is the base of StarFox team. Their ship is kind of out in the open, and there's missiles that are being fired at it, and you've got to basically destroy those missiles just by shooting them. And then you've got Area 6. The boss is Gorgon, and then you're at your final stage. You're at Venom, which either you're gonna fight just regular Andross, which you can face him, or if you do the other way or whatever, you get the Star Wolf team and you get Andross. So you've got to face the Star Wolf team before you get to Andross, and that's the part that I was talking about, which was so hard, which can be difficult. So
And you mentioned a little bit earlier that you didn't play very much multiplayer.
No, not at all.
Of the game.
It just wasn't really fun.
But you could technically play on 64. You could play 4 players at one time, right? Like you could, if you wanted to. And you could go through the story, right?
No, not at all.
Couldn't go through the story.
No, which would have been actually pretty cool.
So what do you do? What do you do in multiplayer? Is you going against each other, or what's the concept of multiplayer?
Yeah, you're in the R wing, and you can fight on foot and in the Landmaster. But yeah, you just kind of run around just shooting each other. So
there's different levels and
there's different game modes. Like there's point match, which you just got to shoot down your opponent a certain number of times, and then there's battle royale, which is last player left wins, of course, and then you have a time trial to destroy enemy fighters. So that's like I said, it's just that was all that was to multiplayer. And like I said, I had a screenshot of it saved, but I forgot to upload it, so it's not. But yeah, it's just showing 4 screens and just flying around. So nothing special, but you could just pick from the StarFox team. I think that's all you could be was the StarFox team. So yeah.
Nice. Sorry, I switched screen to accident. Let's take a look at this final gameplay clip, which will show you the final scene of the game, at least the final boss of the game that we of Star Fox 64. Let's play.
Die just like your father.
So that version of it is the easier version. So he's like the big floating head, and what happens is you got to shoot at his eyes because when he has his hands and he has like these light up little icons on his hands, and you got to basically shoot those. But you can shoot him in the eyes, which kind of disorients him, and he'll leave his hands vulnerable, and you just shoot at him, and then you basically got to destroy his hands. Well, after you destroy his hands, then he opens his mouth and he starts sucking in like rocks and stuff like that. And basically, if you get too close, you'll get sucked in too. Well, how you counter that is if you have the bomb, which is the B button. If you fire a bomb into him, he'll swallow it and he'll blow up. And you keep shooting him and he'll eventually turn into that robot-looking thing. And then you just shoot him, and then he'll blow up and he'll die or whatever. But if you do it the other way, he doesn't turn into the big robot, I believe. After you destroy his hands and his face or whatever, then you face his brain and his eyes, which is kind of weird. But his eyes are on like these, like it looks like electrified leashes almost. That's kind of what it reminded me of. And you attack his eyes and you kill his eyes. And then once you kill his eyes, you got to shoot something on the back of underneath his brain, part of his brain, and then you destroy him, and then that is literally it. That's Andross for you. So it's kind of weird, but yeah.
Yeah, imagine like just being someone who walks into the room having no idea what Star Fox is, and you're watching this scene of a freaking ship shooting at a giant head and hands, and like that's crazy. It's almost as bad as like was it no, it wasn't Turtles. It was what game? Contra. where like the ending where you're shooting the brain of the alien and that's how you beat the game. It kind of reminded me of that.
Oh,
so
Do a barrel roll.
do a barrel roll.
So the funny thing is about the do a barrel roll part, because that's actually in the very first mission in Corneria. So that's not actually even a barrel roll. So, but people who play that game and grew up playing that game think that's what a barrel roll is, and that's apparently not a barrel roll at all. It's called like the aileron roll or something like that. It's very hard to pronounce. Aileron roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just basically, you spin around. You can spin in either direction, just depending on which button you did.
Yeah.
And it would deflect the lasers and help you fight off the bad guys. But yeah, Peppy is the one who tells you how to do it, so that's how you first learn it. So yeah, and what's funny is on the internet, it became a popular meme, and it ended up making Google do an Easter egg. So if you type in "do a barrel roll" or you type in Z or R twice on the Google, basically the website in their search bar, your Google page will literally do a spin. And it actually does this. I confirmed this, and it actually still to this day, it still works. So if you do it,
I'm doing it right now.
it will actually spin around, and it's
what do we type in? Do a barrel roll?
Yeah, just type in on the Google search bar. Just type in either "do a barrel roll" or Z or R twice, and it actually does it. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
It did it. My whole screen just did an entire 360.
Yep, which is pretty neat. Which is pretty awesome.
And you said R twice?
Yeah, it's Z or R twice, exactly in those words, like Z or R
twice.
Yeah,
did it again. That's awesome.
That's pretty cool, man. That's definitely something that's very awesome.
Yeah, Google has a couple of those like little Easter eggs in there that you depending on what you type in, it'll, things will happen on the screen. So
yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. So did you want to we got a screenshot of it. Let me pull it up here. Here's the official player's guide.
Yep, the player's guide. So the strategy guide. Yeah, I actually have one of these. I still to this day have it. It's packed away. I almost was going to bring it out for the show, but I just didn't. But yeah, it just basically tells you about the game, breaks down the characters, breaks down the levels, breaks down the enemies, the good guys, helps you out with the game. And when we were kids, man, if you knew somebody that had, or if you were the one that had a strategy guide, like, you were the shit to people.
100%.
And this, strategy guides came out way before, the internet was there, but you couldn't just look up stuff. And that's what the guide was there for. It was to help you out, get through the game, help you learn about the game. And I actually have a few other strategy guides as well, like Ocarina of Time. I have Revenge, StarFox.
What does I don't want to get too off topic, but how does a wrestling game have a strategy guide?
Got the move list, tells you all the wrestlers.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I didn't think of that.
And specials and stuff like that. Yeah,
my bad. I don't think I had it, but I remember seeing the Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past strategy guide.
Yeah,
I remember opening it up and you see the entire map laid out, and, and you go to the one page and you start your house, and it basically walks you through the game.
Yep.
Step by step on what you should do. Now you can take whatever path you want, but yeah, I never used strategy guides too much, but I did think it was cool when I would actually see one.
Yeah, for sure.
Wild.
Yep.
Usually in stores where.
Yeah, and you could still go to places like Vintage Stock, and they have the strategy guides and stuff that you can get. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I haven't actually looked for a strategy guide at a Vintage Stock in a long time.
Yeah.
So, but they used to sell them there. So
is the one in Belton still open?
Yeah, it's still there.
Is it?
Yeah.
I haven't been there in a while. Actually, I bought my I say new Xbox. It's one of the oldest versions of the Xbox, but I bought it for my kids so they could play Minecraft and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So Human Fall Flat. You ever heard of that one?
No.
Yeah, they love it.
Okay. I've heard of Fall Guys, but not.
Yeah, Human Fall Flat. It's just you can. I don't know. It's a weird game, but I mean, it's fun for kids. They like to play it. So
yeah.
Anyway. That about does it, man. That is StarFox 64. So top 10 game for you, probably maybe top 5.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So if you had to, before we jump into the pop culture, and I obviously I know it's going to be really high. I wanted to start doing this at the beginning of our podcast, but we never did it. I forgot to put it in there, and we just never did it. I want to start ranking. I want to put like a nostalgia ranking on these games, both you and I. So, what do you think? Should we rank these like 1 to 5 as far as like star rating? Should we go 1 to 10? I think we should go 1 to 10 because we're gonna end up having a ton, and we could do points.
Yeah. Okay.
8.2. Give me your ranking, 10 being the absolute best game there ever was made.
Okay.
And then 0 being god awful. Give me your nostalgia ranking and we'll call it that from now on, or maybe we'll think of a more creative term. Give me your nostalgia rating for StarFox 64.
Well, it's going to be a 10. So, yeah.
StarFox 64 is a 10 for you. There's nothing. So remember, there's nothing better than a 10. So you're just 10 it is.
Yep.
All right.
Definitely a 10.
All right.
So there's some other games. There's some other games that are definitely a 10. I can think of one game right now in particular, and I do have it. That is definitely a 0. So, and you know the game. So yeah. Because it's for the same system.
PlayStation?
Not only, but yeah.
PlayStation?
Well, it's for PlayStation 2, yeah.
Yeah. I think I know.
You know.
This Twitch viewer is not I think he's a bot. So
yeah, probably.
So appreciate you tuning in the whole time though. I mean, you got us viewer. The viewership's up. I like it. Appreciate it. Sure. Early morning equator. Whatever. That about does it, man. I don't want to put a rating on this one because I didn't play it as often as you did. So I mean, my rating would be much lower. I mean, because I can't give it a fair rating. So we'll give it a 10, and we'll just say we will average both of our ratings out, and then that'll be our nostalgic rating. So we'll stick with that. With that being said, appreciate. So far, everybody that's commented. I know I kind of skipped over and didn't show Aaron Wallace's comments. He was talking about sorry, wrong one. His mom and dad let him play the N64. He was very good at these games, but every time I played it, it was always been a dream of mine to go back to the year 2000. Yeah, much easier times. Not a lot going on. No worries. No bills to pay. No, job to go to. Just wake up, go to school, make sure you don't flunk out as best you can. And play video games, man, or play with your friends, whatever you gotta do. It was a good time. So great game, StarFox. Good stuff. Loved reminiscing about this. Again, I think as these weeks progress, I think we're gonna get into more into the nitty gritty on these games to where I'm going to pick a game and I'm going to say, I love this game. So, see, we first 20 weeks, we kind of stayed in the path of games that we both loved. And now we're going to kind of start veering a little bit, and we're going to start seeing games where one played much more than the other. So, but we got a lot of games we've both played that we haven't covered yet either. So,
for sure.
Lots of time. So, all right. Pop culture. I'm excited about this one.
Oh, yeah.
Excited about it because it's a lot of my favorites. And as we always do, we will cover the movie, not cover, but we'll talk about the movie that was released at the same time as StarFox 64 in April of 1997. And that is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I'm going to say it's probably top 10 for me, is Con Air. I'm a big Nicolas Cage fan. Not a lot of people are. He kind of had a lot of bad rated movies there toward the end of his career. But Con Air, man, that's a classic.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Him, as Cameron Poe, basically he's on a plane, or trapped on a plane that's hijacked. John Malkovich is in it. Cyrus the Virus.
Yep.
And John Cusack's in it. Steve Buscemi. It's a great movie. If
Ving Rhames.
Yeah. It's a phenomenal movie. If you have not seen this, what are you doing? But love it. Came out at the same time this game came out in April of 97. TV show. This did not premiere. This was actually coming to an end of its actually 11 seasons, I think. Yeah, the 11 seasons was Married with Children, a show that would not be on television today.
Probably not.
It is highly offensive content to today's standard for sure. But back then, like this was the show that everybody. It wasn't on at 8:00. You'd have to wait a little bit later and a little bit darker later at night to watch this show. But this was a phenomenal one. I can't believe it.
Nope.
It was ending in 97, honestly. But
yeah,
it's crazy.
Good show.
Yep. And then the toys that was out. It's actually from McDonald's. The McDonald's toys in 1997. Micro Machines. Definitely had the helicopter. Definitely had the plane. And then I know my sister had the Sky Dancers, spinning Sky Dancers.
Yeah.
Because I remember, weirdly enough, playing with those things and launching them across the room, aiming them at her.
Yep.
So actually, it might not have been those because I think the ones that I had or my sister had, I guess, had a drawstring where you would, and the harder you pulled it, it would fly. I think I launched one over the house one time.
Yeah.
But
what's funny is because I mean they've come out with toys kind of like that, before with other stuff, and I don't remember the cars. Not these cars specifically, but those Sky Dancers, I definitely, stuff like that I remember for sure.
Yeah.
I actually have now my mom and dad started it, I believe. It's like a glass, I don't know what you'd call it. It's like a glass shelf. It's got like 3 sections. You hang it up on the wall, and it's not real thick, probably about that thick. It's got 3 glass panels you can slide up and down. And then it's got little shelves or like little grid, I don't know. I'm horrible at explaining stuff sometimes.
No, I'm following along.
But they're in each little square, there's a micro machine. And I've had that for as long as I can remember. It's at my mom's house. One of the glass panels broke on it, and then she was actually able to get it replaced, I believe.
Where was that stored at your house? Was it in your room or was it upstairs?
No, for the longest time, it was actually in the closet in the living room.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so yeah,
I don't know if I've ever seen that. If I did, I didn't notice it, so I didn't like, or it's not ingrained in my memory. I might have seen it, but
yeah, it's you never saw it. After a while I did take it and put it in my closet in my room, but I never had it hung up, and so yeah, but it had that, I would take him out all the time, and my mom and dad would get mad at me for taking him out, playing with him, because who wouldn't want to sit there and play with these little tiny little cars? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure over the years I probably lost a couple of them. I really don't know. But yeah.
That's the one thing that I'm like, that I started kind of giving in to, like, just letting my kids play with some of the things that I had that I thought was going to be, or I didn't think it was going to be valuable or nothing, but maybe that I thought was close to me. Like, I have a milk crate full of those action figures, the wrestling action figures. And I mean, I know you're upset about it. I'm actually upset about it now because I've met him, but you got me a Hot Wheels Buff Bagwell car still in the package, and it's gone. It's destroyed.
Oh.
And that would have been what I had him sign along with my, the hot tag graphic that I made.
Wow.
Yeah. We still have the car. It's crushed. It's like,
what happened to it? Do you know? Do you remember? Do you know what happened to it?
I don't know. It's been through a lot, dude. I honestly, it might have fallen down in the chair. We might have reclined it and smashed it. I don't know, but it's like the roof is smashed down onto it.
No.
And I was just like, you know what? Go ahead and play with it. I mean, Bagwell was out of the game. I hadn't heard from him forever. It was back when he was still, and then he came back. He's sober now, and we interviewed him, and I'm like, man, that would have been cool to have hanging up with the signature. I mean, I still got the graphic that he signed, my graphic that I made. Interviewed him. So anyway, nonetheless, well, that about does it. We are about to close this out. Do you have anything else you wanted to add? Actually, I do. I have one thing. Next week, we are planning on jumping back into the Sony realm. And speaking of realm, blurry, because that is a screenshot of a video. I will fix that graphic before next week. But we are going to be talking about Resident Evil, specifically Resident Evil 2. It was the game that I played the most. We'll probably touch on all the Resident Evils in this episode. How first one, we can't have the second one without talking about the first one. So Resident Evil will be our episode next week. We'll probably discuss a bonus, a non-video game topic to do either sometime next week or right after Resident Evil. We'll see. But that's the Wednesday topic next week. So, or Tuesday. I don't know. We still haven't decided that yet. My kids' soccer was canceled today because it decided to snow.
Yeah.
Even though it's completely. How's the weather on the roads up there now? Did it?
They're better now, but yeah, man, it was bad. It was bad last night. It was like blizzard warning. Our power went out for 20, 30 minutes and came back on, was on for a little bit, and then it came off. And then it just kind of would come up and then go back off. So it flickered off and on for a little while. And then I remember waking up at like 2 a.m. and because I'd fallen asleep, like looking at my phone or something. And I remember waking up and like the power was off. And then it shortly came on after that. So then, yeah.
St. Joe Pepsi had no power all day.
Oh, wow.
It went out at like overnight, 3 a.m., something like that. And I had a call at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and they still were without power.
Wow.
So they had one plug which was weird. They had one outlet that was working in the building that they connected and tried to get Wi-Fi and start building some loads, and then that went out and they couldn't do anything.
Oh,
so
man.
they're almost an entire day behind. They're gonna try to catch up this weekend. But
yeah.
Anyway, glad it wasn't too bad. Yeah, I woke up. I heard the wind. I was like, dude, my trash cans are gonna be 5 houses down. Luckily, they just fell over in front of my garage.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so next week we will be talking about Resident Evil, Resident Evil 2 specifically, Resident Evil 3 most likely a little bit. Jason Wallace, my uncle, is planning on joining us. That is the plan. Unless something drastically changes, we'll have a 3-man band next week. He played that game quite a bit, so he'll have a lot of insight. And other than that, Stitch, anything before we close out?
Nope. I'm good, man.
Appreciate everybody for tuning in.
Yep.
Alyssa, Hunter Dillon was in the house. Aaron Wallace, the bot from Twitch. Appreciate you for giving us an extra viewer. This has been yet another episode of Nostalgia Mania. I am your host, the real Josh Elliott. This is my co-host, Stitchamania Derrick Stich. We will see you guys next week. And as always, let's get nostalgic.
Through the 80s and 90s, the games we all know. From Mario's jumps to Sonic speed. Legends and Quest, every gamer's creed. Grab your controller, the stage is set. We're diving deep, don't you forget. Nostalgia Mania, where memories play. Reliving the games from back in the day. With Josh and the crew, it's a gamer's dream. Retro adventures and